evening. It's great to see so many people here to help Sonia celebrate the launch of her book. And it's a real pleasure and an honour beyond words to be speaking to you all tonight about Sonia's amazing dream and her drive to realise it and then to write a book about it. On many levels she's achieved something really incredible, and it's so good to join with you in celebrating. Sonia's had many fascinating experiences, some quite challenging and others really enviable. And she's written about them with such great self-awareness and integrity and honesty and a good dash of humour. It's actually a really brave thing to write about your own life and your own personal experiences and reflections and then to share it with others. When you think about it, storytelling is such a part of our history as humans. It's been a part of, I guess, our evolution in terms of educating and warning and celebrating and recording events and experiences. But first-person autobiographical storytelling is especially brave and revealing. And mostly we don't like to make ourselves so vulnerable, especially when you reveal things that have caused you some suffering. We're not usually rewarded for talking about how things got on top of us at work or how we've not conformed to society's norms such as marriage and kids and the like. We're also more inclined to encourage and reward someone's experiences and achievements in relation to money and status. We're most certainly not rewarded for disclosing a struggle with mental illness, even though it is becoming more accepted and spoken about. So Sonia's managed to share things that she struggled with and things that she's overcome in a way that made me both feel for and cheer with her. It was a story I could very much relate to, and I suspect many others will too. There are many aspects of her book that I could talk about, but I'm going to talk a little about the ones that I guess I relate to, and you'll all find you'll relate to different parts of her book. She speaks honestly about things that have helped her transcend some of the pain and of the things that heightened it. Like Sonia, I've worked for many years in a helping profession as a nurse in mental health. I've supported others through their mental health crises. I've had my own experience of depression. I've been to the brink of a breakdown when work demands overwhelmed me too. Then, like Sonia, I discovered that healing is something that we do to and for ourselves rather than it's done to us. She refers to mindfulness meditation as being one of the things that helped her heal. And I relate very strongly to that because that's one of my great passions and something that I love to teach. So I can also, I guess, relate to the healing power of mindfulness, of living in the present moment with non-judgmental awareness. I've also had the great privilege of guiding others to develop their own practice of mindfulness. Over the years, I've never heard patients say that cognitive behavioural therapy has saved their lives, but I've more than once heard people say that about mindfulness. Mindfulness is much talked about and many promises are made of its great benefits. However, it risks becoming a fad with a shelf life. But that shouldn't take away from its importance and its great healing potential, and I'm really grateful to Sonia for having shared her personal experience of this. However, her book is not about or just about experiencing problems and overcoming them. It's really about her journey to Italy to do what she is passionate about. It's about finding herself in doing what she loves to do and in challenging herself to step into the unknown. In a beautiful irony, Sonia, in seeking to fulfil one of her dreams, which is to study in a cooking school in Umbria and to work as a chef in southern Italy, she unites another passion, that of writing. And how delightful is that? To seek one thing only to find another just as good or perhaps better, something that was meant to be. This could only have happened as long as Sonia was prepared to trust and let go of not knowing the end result. One of the things that came through really strongly to me in this book was her message and intent in writing. It seemed to me that a great desire of Sonia was to encourage and inspire the reader to validate other people going through experiences like hers, and to remind us all that life is precious and should be lived to the full, that dreams are worth having and can be realised, and that although pursuing one's dreams involves taking risks, it's a part of what makes life worth living. I've witnessed some of what Sonia describes in her book firsthand as she went through it. I'm full of admiration for her courage in striving for her health and for her happiness and for the fulfilment of her dreams. And ultimately for putting this into words in a beautiful, engaging, warm-hearted way. Sonia, you should be so proud of what you've achieved. And we are also delighted to be able to celebrate your achievements with you. On behalf of your family and friends here tonight, I'd like to wish you every success in what I trust will be just the beginning of your writing career. And I thank you for shining the light for all of us. And I guess on that note, I'd like to say that your book is officially launched.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Marita. And Marita actually didn't probably introduce herself. She is a mindfulness, you did mention that you're a nurse, but she's also a mindfulness meditation teacher, and that's how I met her. So when you read your free copy of the book, you will find her in the book. So look out for her and my experiences with Marita. I wouldn't be here today without having met her through the Reiki Cottage, so which is also mentioned in the book, thanks to Helen. So I wouldn't be here today without the support of both those ladies and without the support of Marita through that. So, and she talked beautifully about mindfulness meditation, which, it's talked about quite a bit in the book. So, and I'll talk a bit more about it as we go. So thank you so much, Marita. I love having you part of my life. And also thank you, everyone, for being here today. I can't believe the book is finally launched. Those of you that, and how relieved I am actually to really hear those words. It's been 2 years of writing, rewriting, editing, killing my darlings. It's been absolutely exhausting. And even now, with the final product that's there, although it does look beautiful, it's not perfect. And there's been little bits and pieces in there that you may notice, but it's done, it's finished, and that's okay. So, and I just want to thank everyone for making the effort here today to come and this really isn't a launch to sell my books. It really was just for me to end this chapter of my life and start my new one, and to have the people who are in my life, or to have you come along and to celebrate. So it's really just to say thank you. Most of you do know, I guess, the 2-year journey that's gone into travelling, writing and editing this book. Some of you probably didn't even believe that it was ever going to come to fruition. I always knew I would get to this point, as this book has been in the making for a lot longer than the 2 years that some of you, or most of you, are aware of, except maybe 2 of you, which I'll mention a bit later. This journey began around 2010 or maybe even 2011, when the idea to write a memoir suddenly popped in my head and would not leave no matter how hard I tried. I had never written anything before, apart from a few short stories, and I didn't believe that I was good enough or had the story to write a whole book, a memoir. Is my life really that interesting to write about? It wasn't until 2014, when one very hot, sunny day in sunny Siracusa in Italy, I had no choice but to sit down and write the first draft. At the time, I didn't even know what the story was going to convey. The first draft, which was rushed out of my fingers, which was originally called, and not many of you would know this, except two people, I wonder if they know who they are, My Journey of Becoming a Cook. Brushed out of my fingers and onto the keyboard in a matter of weeks. At the time, I actually thought that title was like the best title of a book ever, and I thought I was never going to change it. So it's funny how things tend to work out. And I thought, you know, my book was going to be about going to Italy, studying cooking, becoming, leaving my career of, at that time I think it was 12, 13 years, leaving that career and getting over my midlife crisis. And it was just going to be a frightening challenge of leaving a secure job to follow my dreams, which in a way it is about, but it's actually turned into a lot more than that. And the original outline of the book didn't have the first 4 chapters as they are now. It wasn't until writing the first draft and moving on to the second that I realised the first 4 chapters had to be added into the book. It had to be part of the story. There was just no choice. Which is a strange thing about writing that people often don't really understand, and has been part of my journey too, which has been about acceptance, and acceptance of, I guess, well, not so much acceptance, but maybe even just letting go and just letting the story come out and letting yourself be, and not trying to control what you think it should be like, which also then transfers out into the real world and into everyday life, which is easier said than done. I'm not sure, there's quite a few writers here today, so I'm not sure if they're going to agree with me on this one. I have a feeling they might, but we'll see. I don't believe there is a choice about what we write or don't write. We don't write because we want to, we write because we have to. And we have to write the stories we are told to write. Who or what is telling us? I have no idea. It's not some metaphysical God or being out there, but I do believe that as writers or as creative people that these stories have to be told, which is what I guess when the idea first popped into my head, it didn't leave until I actually it didn't leave my head, and it didn't leave, and I'm talking every single day, the thought of writing this book didn't leave until I actually penned it, until I started to write it. It's quite bizarre. One of my virtual mentors, Stephen King, when he's asked in interviews how does he find a story, he always replies, he doesn't, they find him. Leaving people often quite perplexed about what that really means, but he describes it as being pretty much similar to what I've been trying to describe, is that an idea will pop into your head, and until you sit down and write it, it doesn't leave. And you have no idea how it's going to end, how it's going to pan out, how the characters are going to come out, who's going to live, who's going to die, who's the villain. You just have no idea, you just write it. And if I had a choice, I guess, if I had a choice, I may have written about many other things and a very personal memoir with a whole lot of crazy rants, which really do leave me totally vulnerable. But this is the story that once found me and wouldn't leave me until it was written, edited, re-edited, until the final product that we see today. Thank you. I really have so many people to thank. I'm just going to grab a copy of my book. I really do have quite a lot of people to thank. My family, of course. They've been there, I think, watching me typing something on the computer and not asking much, but being very curious about what's in there, so they're going to find out now. Yes, thank you for, I guess, leaving me be and letting me do it. My friends who listened to particularly my work friends, because I see them every day, listening to my stories about my book, probably wondering. And also some of those friends who actually listened about me doing my trip to Italy, I think 2 years before I actually went and did it. So I think a lot of people thought that was never going to happen, but everyone just kind of listened and supported it. So thank you. My wonderful beta readers, I think most of them are here today. Leanne, Nicola, Lisa, who've actually, I think you guys have read it twice. Who else? Anyone else here? Sandy? Anyone else? Anyone else? Yes, Roma! Oh my God, how can I forget you? Thank you you read it twice as well, and there's a couple of others that read it twice that aren't here today. So thank you to them, because your advice and support and guidance and even positive comments and not so positive, whatever it may be, has really shaped the book the way it is today. So thank you. And of course, the two people that actually knew, do you know who you are? The two people who knew about the story when it was called My Journey of Becoming a Cook, Claire Watt and Barbara Mata. And I'm so excited that Barbara actually made it here today, considering her life, and Claire's come from Stall, so thank you so much. But they actually knew the story when it was just 2 paragraphs. So I'm rapt that they're here today, so thank you for making the effort and thank you for reading it as well. So they're my other 2 beta readers that I think read it more than most other people. So thank you. Okay, now hopefully I haven't missed anyone. I'm really sorry if I have. And I just want to say that my memoir is a story about my experiences based on my perception. So it is not a cure for anxiety or depression. It is my story about mindfulness meditation and how it worked for me. And I think I said it, and Marita said it in her speech as well. It did save my life. Nothing else has in the past, of all the personal development that I have done over the years, which is talked about quite a bit in the book. Nothing really got me through anything other than mindfulness meditation, which is a beautiful meditation about acceptance and letting go and accepting your life as it is right here, right now, which is easier said than done, but yes. And further to that, the characters in the book are just that, they are just characters. They are a mixture of different people that have come across in my life to form characters in that book, for me to try and get my message across. So please don't ask me who they are, because you will not find out. Some people have. Yes, and on that note, if you do know a writer, and we'll see what the writers have to say about this, if you meet anyone that is a writer and says to you they're a writer, be careful how you treat them, because you will end up in a book. So, trust me. So, I already had a few experiences recently I couldn't write about. So, okay. So, writing my first book and publishing has been a dream since childhood. It is my destiny, and that's all I know is that it is my destiny. How that destiny will develop or reveal itself in the future, I have no idea. I have plans, I have a vision, I have a way to move forward. Whether it works out that way or not, I really don't know. It could take me down paths I've never dreamed of, provide mentors and people I never expected, or just turn everything upside down and crazy and I'll need to reassess everything. Who knows? All I know, and all I have is right here and right now, is trust and faith that it will work out for me the way it's meant to be. Letting go of the ups and downs of life and trusting in the flow. And that is the sweetness in life. Thank you. I read a lot of things and a lot of people said get rid of the prologue. It doesn't, prologues don't fit in books, but this is one darling I wasn't going to kill. So, and it's got flashbacks, but that's also, and everyone says don't write flashbacks in books, it doesn't go, but that was another darling I wasn't going to kill. So, thank you. So I'll just give me a few minutes and then we'll be able to continue. Then there'll be book signings. I'll be sitting over there, so if you wish to come up and get a signed copy, feel free. 14th of May 2014. Order up. A call out of my kitchen staff as the waitress brings in an order from the restaurant. The kitchen is ready for yet another busy night of services as the bookings are full until 11 p.m. We have 2 beef, 1 chicken and 1 pasta con vongole. I call out the orders and the kitchen staff move immediately into action, with pots clanking and gas fire being turned on. The beef section proceeds to the fridge and returns with 2 steaks that will be cooked on a hot pan. The sauce for the beef is slowly being heated and will be plated last. The chicken is placed in the oven for its final touches. But the potatoes are ready and removed and the commerce chef begins preparing the plates. The last thing to be added will be the protein. In the pasta section, the chef adds the pasta and vongole to cook together. I noticed this and realised that the pasta is going to be ready before the protein. This is a disaster and I need to intervene quickly. Charlie, how soon for the pasta? I call out. 1 minute, chef, Charlie replies. Mark, how soon for the beef? I call again. 2 minutes, chef, answers Mark. Charlie, I begin reprimanding him, my voice angry. You need to communicate with your colleagues. The pasta cannot be ready before the protein. It will continue cooking on the counter and go cold. You will need to start your dish again and work fast, or the proteins will be ready before you. I can see he is disgruntled and unhappy as he purses his lips together and mumbles something to himself. Charlie starts again. Lucky the bongole are not ready yet and he can still use those. It's just the pasta he needs to cook quickly. At this point, the waitress enters the kitchen with another order. Order up, I call out. My chefs are finishing the previous order but are listening to the next. They must be ready to cook more than one meal at a time. 2 calamari, 2 grilled fish, 1 beef and 1 bruschetta for 6. The kitchen staff explode into action and with the antipasti section now at work, preparing the bruschetta for 6 people. Chefs and sous chefs yelling at each other to ensure that they are ready at the same time. My worst nightmare is one person at the table having to wait for their meal whilst everyone else is enjoying theirs. I smile as I watch my staff and my kitchen in action. I am proud of them. They are dedicated to their job. Their white uniforms clean when they start work, hair always out of the way and under their chef hats. Their nails clean and no nail polish on. You cannot wear makeup or nail polish in a kitchen. I am proud that they stick to the rules and work diligently during service. I'm watching each chef work fast at cooking the meals I have created when I hear a familiar voice that return me back to reality. Is something on your mind, Mum asked. Yeah, I'm fine, I replied, being brought back to reality. I had not noticed that my thoughts were somewhere in the grey clouds, dreaming of another life. I shook my head to make sure I was back in the present, and I looked around at the sullen faces of people patiently waiting for their turn to check in. I wondered what my face must have looked like as I stood there with my purple suitcase beside me, daydreaming about a possible future. A future I had desperately desired. I dropped my head slightly and looked intently at my luggage beside me, and my mind began wandering again to a few months back. I can see where your head is. A colleague noticed me looking up an Italian cooking school in Italy when we were supposed to be working. Startled at being called out, I replied quickly, wish I could go. Why not? What is stopping you? She asked, as if it should have been an easy decision for anyone. At that time I had no answer. No kids, no marriage, an unsatisfying job. There really was nothing stopping me. I guess I had some crazy idea that if I travelled too much I would never settle or marry. Well, as it so happened, at the ripe old age of 41, I was no nearer to marriage or kids. My life had become the same monotonous events each day, like a robot with its on switch stuck. I was getting up at the same time, going to the same job, same place for so many years that I was really unhappy. Something had to change significantly or I was going to burst. Standing in line at the Qantas check-in counter, I was not sure what I was supposed to be feeling. Happy, excited, scared, nervous. Why in the hell am I doing this now? I was 41 and did I really want to live overseas? Shouldn't I have been thinking about my retirement, saving money and investing, not throwing it away as if it would last forever? Unfortunately, most of my friends thought my escape was a great idea. No one even tried to talk me out of it. This was the day I was leaving Australia. My friends, my family and my life as I knew it to live in another country for 6 months. I had talked about this for 2 years and I was finally going to live the dream. That's what my friends called it, but at the time of departure I wasn't sure. A huge knot in my stomach told me I had no idea what to expect. Living in Italy and learning to cook had been a passion, a dream, a desire of mine for years, and I had forgotten how many people I had bored with the talk of it. The hardest part of all of this was the packing up of my belongings and piling them up in brown cardboard boxes, stacked one atop the other. I will never forget seeing the boxes sitting in my lounge room. All my precious books, jewellery, photos, clothes, all packed away. There were the things that I had carefully chosen and placed around the apartment to make it my home, to make it mine. I had to find the right furniture, TV stand. Oh boy, did that take ages. It had to be the perfect colour and size for the apartment. The chairs for the dining table. Now that took longer to find. Then lastly came the 2-seater couch. Perfect size for the apartment and perfect for my purse. I only had to leave it all, to rent to a stranger to use as he pleased. I remember the days as I slowly took each box to store in the garage of my parents' home. Then I just walked away. I felt sick, sad, excited and crazy all at the same time. Next please. I lifted my head and noticed a pretty attendant with a huge smile and her blonde hair neatly tied up in a bun. How does she look so perky and well kept at this time of the morning, I thought enviously. I wheeled my suitcase behind me. After I handed her my ticket and passport, I lifted the suitcase on the carousel. Wow, you're coming back on the 1st of December, she said, sounding very excited for me and still smiling. Yes, I told her, it's my midlife crisis. She laughed, not a hair moving out of place. It sounds exciting and you will have a lot of fun. Yes, well, I hope, I thought, as I took back my passport and boarding pass. After answering a series of questions that included, did I pack my own suitcase and did I know the contents of my suitcase, she then taped the arrival details, sent it down the carousel towards the plane I was shortly to board. You know that a midlife crisis really does exist and does happen at age 40. As much as I was happy to turn 40 and enjoyed a great celebration with family and friends, the big 4-0 hit like a ton of bricks. I started questioning my life and its purpose. My job was going nowhere and offering me very little. In fact, it was getting worse, de-skilling me even further. I kept asking myself, what was life for? Was life really all about getting up at the same time, going to work at the same time, and leaving and being home every night? The only passion I had was cooking. Although I really had no idea how I was going to work in a restaurant or even how I was going to deal with the pressures, the dream bugged like a non-stop buzzing in my ears. The dream to live in Italy also began to bug, and the two combined like a perfect marriage. So it was that I found myself at the Melbourne airport ready to board QF 271, final destination Rome, for the biggest adventure of my life. To live in Italy and study as a sous chef, from real Italian chefs, and work in a restaurant. The adventure could be the best or the worst decision I ever made. Who really knew? All I knew was that I needed to throw myself into the deep end and let the events unfold on their own. But before we arrive in Italy, you will need to know how all of this started, which means we need to go back to the beginning and to the year 2009. Thank you. Eat, enjoy yourselves, and I'll just be up here if you want to come and chat or sign a book.